Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light.
What ultimately built Francois? What brought you to the point of being this wise training guru that I trust with my body? What brought you to that point?
It's actually very interesting way that you phrase the question, what built Francois, because it's actually a process of destruction, really. Parents are from the Congo, so history, born in Switzerland, 7 years in Switzerland, back to the DRC Congo at the time where my parents are originally from. And we left the country in the time of civil war, literally. So our last few nights in the country, we were sheltering in the passage of our house with the sound of gunfire coming through the windows. And it was full out civil war, people looting stores. And that is how we exited the Congo. We came to South Africa in about 92, 93. Okay. Learned English and Afrikaans in 1 year, being dumped into the only English-speaking boarding school at that part of the world. Came to Joburg, that's where I did most of my schooling. And that was, I suppose, me and my introduction to sports. I was puny in high school, really small. So obviously our stories are all the same in relation to what high school's like, right? You're either the jock or you're the bully. I was obviously the jock or the person being bullied. Being bullied, you have two options in those sort of years. You either take up karate or a form of martial arts, which was too daunting for me at the time. So I fell into BMXing and eventually fitness, bodybuilding, etc. So, but we'll get back to that. So in relation to what brought me to where I am today, my story is not too much unlike yours in relation to the drinking, how you quit drinking, except mine had a more violent ending. So I went for years drinking, binge drinking, partying, drinking and driving, 13 car accidents.
13 car accidents?
Yeah, wrote off 4 vehicles, was denied insurance at some point. I was celebrating getting employment elsewhere. I drank excessively. I snuck out of the club. I got behind the wheel of my car. I couldn't tell you this part of the story exactly because I don't remember it. But what I do remember is that I crashed a vehicle and what the insurance estimated was north of 100 miles an hour in a suburban area, okay, in the rain. And I had the strangest out-of-body experience because I was driving the vehicle, and obviously it's right and drive in this country. And at the point of the first point of impact, I was in the passenger seat looking at myself in the car.
Wow.
Yeah. And
the chills.
it's the craziest thing. Even just telling the story, it's a bit emotional. So I literally saw myself in the driver's seat of the car and I told myself, this is the accident that is going to take your life. The car rolled, and this I remember. So the car rolled, I heard myself moan. My chest hit the steering wheel, and this I remember very clearly. I heard myself moan. In hospital, I had a collapsed lung. The scars on my forehead here from hitting the windscreen before the airbag deployed. Airbag deploys, pushed back into the passenger seat. The car rolls now, no seatbelt. So my feet, because of the impact, come off the pedals, but through the pedals, okay? My feet are on the floor, the car rolls, and I'm shifted from the driver's side into the passenger side, and that snaps my ankle. Both sides clean across, destroys my knee, and the car comes to a stop. So now I'm crawling out of the wreck of my vehicle. And you know, they say all accidents happen very close to home. Less than 2 kilometers from where I stayed at the time. I'm now trying to leopard crawl my way home in my drunken stupor. The man whose property I just parked my vehicle in, because I went through his perimeter wall, comes out. He's still holding his whiskey from his evening.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And he's telling me, listen, friend, you're not going to make it. You are not going to make it. I can see that you're a mess. So I ended up in hospital. Spent 5 days in ICU. 33 days in hospital. The first 4 days I was in hospital, I didn't have the heart to look to see if my leg was still there. It was a weird situation. I'd had so many accidents and I had walked away from them unscathed so many times that I was convinced that this was the accident where I would either be paralyzed or I would lose a limb. So for 3 or 4 days, I didn't have the heart to look because I knew, in my mind, I was like, you've lost your leg. I decided right there and then that drinking and partying was just not going to work out for me, okay? In as much as it's great and you enjoy it. When you're sitting in hospital, it's the strangest thing. You don't really realize the damage that you cause people because, you know, people tell you they don't want you to drink because they don't want to lose you, etc. When you're sitting in hospital and you're looking at the base of your bed and day in, day out, people are coming into hospital and you can see the distress on their faces, looking at the damage that you've caused to yourself, it's a wake-up call. So when you say what made you, what destroyed me made me. So that was literally the best thing that could have potentially happened to me. It took me 6 years before I could walk straight again, 7 years before I could squat again. And the biggest motivation for me in that story was that the doctor that operated on my leg, I'm not too sure if he was deliberately negative, or maybe he was a psychologist and he knew that I needed to hear negative feedback in order to motivate me. But he put the pictures up and he says, okay, cool, well, yeah, your leg is healed. However, you can see from how see-through that is that you've lost a lot of bone density. That's arthritis, definitely. You'll never walk straight again. I was like, really? That's quite sad. So then my foot was completely out because of the way I laid in hospital. So my legs, even today, one leg collapses more than the other.
Wow.
Okay, so I had to force my foot back to straight.
I just thought you walked funny.
No, it wasn't like a hip hop thing trying to be cool. It's actually trauma, yeah. So after a while, I was like, well, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And I forced myself and I forced the foot back to straight. Go back for a 3 months checkup and I'm like, I'm walking straight. He goes, that's impressive. You'll never run. Okay, look, about that, he was almost right. It took me 15 years, okay? But I go back to the gym. Now my knee was also, I had 4 knee surgeries. Okay, yeah. So I go back to the gym, I start training light through tears. I'm training through tears. I get back to the gym, I go back to him, I'm like, I'm training again. He goes, you'll never train heavy again. I'm like, well, you 2 for 0 now. Let's keep going. Started training heavy again. He says to me, you'll never squat again. And after many years, many different coaches, eventually I got to squat back.
What an amazing story. And again, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit or talking enough about the mindset that it took for you to overcome what you were told you wouldn't be able to do. But what have you learned through this whole experience?
People underestimate themselves a lot. And I mean, everybody has great strength, but I think you'll never really discover how much strength you have unless you're pushed into a situation that is outside of your comfort zone. And whether it relates to an accident or great trauma or a situation where a person is maybe uncomfortable with the way they look, as soon as you make a decision, look, I want to change something, this is not for me, I think you owe it to yourself to discover just how much potential or strength you have to achieve the things that you want.